What are some common DBCC CheckDB problems that you've come across?
The biggest one, I think, is CheckDB not being run, or with that, people thinking that they run CheckDB. 3 years ago, they set up a job to run CheckDB, but they put it on the wrong schedule and it ran like for a month, and then it hasn't run in the last 3 years since then. That's a big issue where we ask people when we're looking at a corruption repair on systems that we don't work on regularly, where we say, well, when was your last clean CheckDB? Oh, well, 18 months ago or 24 months ago, we had a clean CheckDB, but it hasn't been checked since then. That's a huge issue. I mean, that's a gigantic issue that shows that any time in that last 18-month window, corruption could have been introduced, and you don't know when. The other one is not being run is bad. Being run occasionally, CheckDB running occasionally, like weekly, like I said earlier, if you're only running CheckDB weekly, well, there's a lot that can go on in a lot of busy systems in a week that could be catastrophic to your business. And I think weekly is one of those that people kind of do as a compromise, but it's not really that much better than it's not a good scenario if you're running it weekly. Yeah. And then the other situation with it is with CheckDB being run less frequently than the backup retention period. So let's say you're kind of squeezed and you're in a bad position where you've only got 3 or 4 days worth of backups available, and you're running CheckDB once every week or once every 2 weeks. Well, that's almost pointless because you're not going to have any backups available to be able to recover from that go as far back as when you discovered that corruption was introduced because of the infrequency of CheckDB running there. So I would say that, if you've got backups, whatever your backup retention is, you'd better be running CheckDB much more frequently than that retention period. And then the other one is not checking the results or alerting on CheckDB failures. So let's say you set up a job in SQL Server agent that's going to run CheckDB daily, or let's say you're really cool and you're going to do it every 3 or 4 hours, but you don't turn on alerting when that job fails. Well, it doesn't really matter if you're running CheckDB if you're not going to get alerted when there's a failure. That's like having a smoke alarm in your house and your house catches fire, but you've taken the speaker out of it. Well, one of the things that makes all the noise. That'd be totally silly. Well, running CheckDB without notification on failure is just as silly. And then the other one is people not turning on alerts is a problem I've seen around this, where if you turn on alerts in SQL Server Agent for severity 21 through 25 errors and errors 823, 824, and 825, these are all the kind of errors that will start being thrown by SQL Server when you're starting to see IO related issues or the things that cause corruption. So those specific severity errors 21 through 25 and errors 823, 824, and 825 are the kind of things that are like your smoke alarm. Those are the kind of things that they're going to tell you there's a fire before your whole house burns down. And if you know about those errors, 823, 824, and 825, or the alerts 21 through 25, that's the kind of thing that when you see those come in, you should stop what you're doing and figure out how to deal with those right away, because that's an indication that you have impending doom approaching very quickly with your SQL Server.